Hollow second guttural verbs, Hiphil. This is the last module for the hollow verbs, and what we're really looking at here is a doubly weak verb. So this is a verb where we have, it's a hollow verb, and it's got a guttural here. And so put a vav here. The verb we're going to look at is nuach. Okay? And nuach means to rest. This is the word from which we get Noah. He caused the rest. Okay, what we're going to see is that the patach, there's a patach before the guttural in some forms. For example, the Hiphil, jussive, and preterite. So this one here, this third guttural here, causes a patach. Now, what's going to happen is, if you put this in the Hiphil, I'll go to the paradigm in a moment. If you put it in the Hiphil, of course, we're going to get the yud in there, right? Because we have the I theme vowel for the Hiphil. So we're going to lose our vav. Remember, in the Hiphil, for hollow verbs, you can't distinguish between two vav and two yud. This is a two vav verb, nuach, but it's going to look like the yud because it's in the Hiphil that we're dealing with. So you have your yud there. And some forms will keep the yud, and when they do, we'll have a furtive patach, because you need an a vowel to pronounce this final guttural. In other forms, you won't have the yud, you'll have a tsere, or another ai vowel, and if you have that, then the guttural will get rid of that tsere and put in the a vowel instead. So in those forms, you'll end up with, something like this. Or you'll have something else in there, but you'll have your patach will take the place of that ai vowel. Okay, if this is too abstract, then let's look at some real forms here. Okay, what I have here is the Hiphil. Here's the strong verbs. Okay, so hifkid, yafkid, whatever. This is the two vav. This is what we've looked at so far. This is the normal second vav for the Hiphil. Remember, in the perfect we have tsere, and of course in the second person we have the second person switch, and you get those hakimoti verbs, but where the tsere goes to hataf patach. But in the third person we have tsere as a prefix vowel. In the imperfect we have kamets, and so all the imperfect forms and those related to kamets, the perfect and the participle have tsere. Okay, so you see that there. And then of course we have our I vowel showing up, either hidik yud, here we see it there, or something shorter like the tsere. Okay. Now here we have our verb nuach. In the Hiphil, we're going to have first of all, the u is going to change to a yud, because that's one of the features of the Hiphil, right? That I theme vowel. So we see that there, and either hidik yud or a tsere. Now what's happened here is we have hidik yud here, and because it's third guttural, we've added a furtive patach. Now again, as I said before, my font doesn't write the furtive patach to the right, but it should be a little bit over to the right here. So you can't get rid of a mater, so it adds a furtive patach in these two. Here we had tsere, so the third guttural gets rid of the tsere and changes it to patach. Okay, that's not surprising. We've seen that kind of behavior before. So yakem becomes yanech. Sorry, yanach, not yanech. Yakem becomes yanach. Over here, hekim becomes heniach. Yakim, yaniach, yakem, yanach. Hakem, hanach. And then back to a yud here, mekim, meniach. So you can't get rid of the yuds, you have a furtive patach, and also here, hakim, haniach. Okay? So this is all explainable. This is what we would expect if we have a two vav with a guttural at the end. The theme vowel, you'll either add a furtive patach or you'll change the theme vowel to a patach, from tsere to patach. And this means to cause to rest. Nuach means to rest, and the Hiphil often is causative, so this means to cause to rest. Now, the interesting thing about nuach in particular is that it has two patterns. So this is pattern 1. This is the normal one. This is what we would expect in terms of form and meaning. But there's a second pattern, and this is talked about in Ross 38.10, the last part of the hollow verbs in the Hiphil, his chapter in 38. Now this is bizarre. What's happening here is nuach is behaving as if it is a first nun. First nun Hiphil. Here it's behaving, well, first nun, third guttural. But the important thing is the first nun. Here it's behaving as second vav, which is what it actually is, right? So for some reason, it has a second alternate pattern where it behaves like a first nun. And if you compare, if you open your textbook to page 549 or look at any chart that outlines the first nuns in the Hiphil, then you'll be able to track this better. So take a look at the first nun Hiphil. You have Higish. Higish is the first nun of Nagash. Here you have Hiniach. So the only difference between Higish and Hiniach is this furtive patach, because it's also third guttural. But you see your Dagesh forte there? Dagesh forte in the nun, all the way down. Well, that's because it's behaving like a first nun. And we have Hiddick. We don't have Tsere, we have Hiddick, which is what we have with the first nun Hiphil. And we have our patach eval, not our comments. Okay, just like first nun. So yagish, yaniach. Now this is the Joseph. When I went hunting around in the Hebrew Bible for examples of these, the example I found had the negator in front, so I threw it in. Tanakh. This is analogous to yagesh. So we have the a prefix vowel, atheme prefix vowel, which is what we expect for first nun Hiphils, and most Hiphils. And we don't have a tsere here because, again, we have the third guttural. But we have this Dagesh forte there, just like first nun. If you look at the imperatives, we have Hagesh. Here we have Hanach. Again, the only difference between this and the first nun is the fact it has a third guttural and so is patach there. Likewise here, we have furtive patachs because we have the Hiddick yud, can't get rid of the yud, but we have the Dagashim here in the nuns, just like first nun, and we have the prefix vowel patach, just like first nun. You can look at the chart and compare them. So we have the second vav pattern and the first nun pattern. The second vav pattern means to cause to rest, which is kind of what you would expect. The first nun has a slightly different meaning. It means to put or to set. So pattern B, the one with the Dagesh forte in the nun, this is the assimilated nun, means to set down or to lay down. Okay, I should say that correctly. To set down or lay down. While pattern A means to cause to rest. So, what would I say you should walk away with here? One is that nuach has two patterns. The second thing I would say is that in terms of being able to distinguish them easily, this one has a Dagesh forte. Okay? And if you want a mnemonic, you could say the one with the Dagesh forte, the one that is, let's see, to set down, to lay down. This one, someone has set down or laid down a Dagesh forte in here, okay? If that helps. Or just go and look it up. But note that there are two patterns. The third guttural in both the patterns causes either the furtive patach to show up if there's a mater, or it changes the I vowel to a patach. The front end is either second vav or first nun, depending on which pattern you're dealing with. So that's it for hollow verbs. They're a little different. They drop the middle sometimes, but they're important because they're quite common. So there you have the hollow verbs.